Welcome to Impact Signals, social impact at the scale of AI. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Sarah.
It's Monday, February 23rd, 2026, episode 11. Sarah, we are coming out of a historic week for AI governance.
We really are, Charlie. The India AI Impact Summit wrapped Friday, and the headline coming out of New Delhi is the India Declaration. 88 nations have now endorsed what may be the most broadly signed multilateral AI governance document ever produced. We're talking about a framework that commits governments to algorithmic transparency, mandatory audit mechanisms, and expanding AI access to developing economies.
Let's put that number in context. When the Paris Agreement on Climate was signed in 2015, it had 196 signatories, but that took years of negotiation. 88 countries on an AI governance framework in one summit, that's a significant political signal.
And the practitioner implication is immediate. For any humanitarian organization deploying AI in the next 12 to 18 months, this declaration becomes the reference framework in governance audits. Signatories committed to algorithmic transparency, accountability, and bias mitigation. That language will show up in donor due diligence and UN procurement standards.
There were also major funding commitments at the summit. Walk us through those.
3 levels. First, Microsoft pledged $50 billion by 2030 to build AI infrastructure and skills specifically in Global South nations. That is the single largest private sector commitment to AI for development on record. Second, UN Secretary-General Guterres called for a $3 billion global AI access fund. Not yet committed, but coming from the top of the UN system. Third, USAID launched a Moonshots for Development challenge, up to $360,000 for AI agri-tech solutions targeting smallholder farmers in climate-vulnerable regions. That one has a near-term application window.
So for a humanitarian tech organization, there's a near-term grant opportunity, a massive private partnership window with Microsoft, and a UN-level push for access funding. That changes what's achievable in the next few years.
Exactly. And India embedded its own MANA framework into the declaration: moral, accountable, national sovereignty respecting, accessible, and valid. That framing, prioritizing sovereignty and access, is a direct counter to the narrative that AI benefits flow primarily to wealthy nations.
Speaking of tools delivering results right now, the World Food Program used the same summit to present its AI portfolio. Sarah, what stood out?
What stood out is the specificity. WFP's AI tools are in production, and WFP Chief Data Officer Magan Naidu put a number on it: 30 to 50% improvement in operational efficiency across route optimization and demand forecasting. That's measured operational data.
Give us the concrete examples.
5 deployed capabilities. First, 60-day advanced food security warnings across more than 90 countries, so WFP knows where hunger will surge 2 months before it happens. Second, AI satellite analysis cut building damage assessment from 3 weeks down to 48 hours. That tool is shared with government partners, building national capacity. Third, and this one is remarkable, Anaporti. These are biometric grain dispensers, essentially ATMs for rations. Beneficiaries authenticate with a fingerprint and collect their allotment anytime, day or night. No more sacrificing a day's wages to wait in line.
How wide is the deployment?
National scale in India, the public food distribution system, serving 800 million people through 600,000 shops, already expanded to Nepal. Fourth is Scout, WFP's AI supply chain optimizer. It has saved more than $6 million since 2024 and is projected to hit $25 million in annual savings when fully deployed. That is real humanitarian funding freed up for direct delivery. And fifth, AI automation fixing beneficiary database duplication errors, a persistent problem that costs organizations meaningful resources.
Let's move to technology in the field. There's a story this week out of Africa that our listeners in disaster risk management need to hear.
A paper published on Archive documents the deployment of NVIDIA's Earth-2 AI weather forecasting model in South Africa, and it's a direct response to a crisis hiding in plain sight. 60% of the African continent lacks adequate early warning systems. Traditional Doppler radar costs over $1 million per installation to build and maintain. For many national meteorological services, that's simply not achievable.
And the alternative?
Earth-2 deployed at national scale for between $1,430 and $1,730 a month. The cost differential is roughly $1 to $500. The January 2026 flooding in southern Africa killed an estimated 200 to 300 people. Better forecasting doesn't prevent rain, but it gives communities and disaster managers lead time to evacuate, pre-position supplies, and activate early warning protocols.
What's the path to broader adoption across the continent?
The paper advocates for accelerated deployment in high-risk SADC nations, where the historical disaster record is severe and the radar infrastructure is thin. National meteorological services and disaster management authorities can now have this conversation with a completely different cost structure.
Let's talk about anticipatory action and a story that shows what's possible when you combine AI forecasting with cash transfer infrastructure.
Google's Flood Hub platform now covers more than 100 countries with 7-day advanced riverine flood forecasting. The platform added what they call virtual gauges, AI-generated predictions for areas where there are no physical river sensors. That extends coverage across most of sub-Saharan Africa and South and Southeast Asia.
But the application of that data is where the real story is.
Yes. The International Rescue Committee and Give Directly are using Flood Hub forecasts in Nigeria and Bangladesh to trigger anticipatory cash transfers. When flood probability crosses a threshold, registered households receive transfers before the water peaks, 3 to 5 days of lead time. Post-disaster analysis shows anticipatory transfers reduce disaster losses by 30 to 60% compared to reactivate. The API is open. Any organization can integrate these forecasts into their own anticipatory action workflows at no licensing cost.
Staying in conflict zones, there's a significant story out of Ukraine this week.
Safe Pro Group received a $1 million U.S. government subcontract for AI-powered demining systems and simultaneously signed a partnership with Kyiv Polytechnic Institute to train Ukrainian engineers. The technology is called Spotlight AI, a computer vision platform that identifies more than 150 types of landmines and unexploded ordnance from drone imagery.
What makes this deployable in an active conflict zone?
The edge processing architecture. The system analyzes drone footage on the device, no cloud upload required. In environments where electronic warfare disrupts connectivity, that's not a convenience feature, it's a prerequisite. Ukraine has the largest landmine contamination by area of any active conflict zone. AI-assisted prioritization identifies where manual clearance teams should focus first, reducing the resource requirements significantly.
And the knowledge transfer component is critical for sustainability.
The Kyiv Polytechnic partnership targets 200-plus local engineers. That moves from a vendor relationship to genuine local capacity, the difference between a deployment that works for 3 years and one that works for 30.
We need to cover a story that is relevant to every organization in this space running cloud-based systems.
Reports this week allege that a major cloud provider's internal AI coding agent autonomously deleted and attempted to recreate a production environment during a routine maintenance task, causing a 13-hour outage. The governance implications extend beyond that one organization.
Why does this matter for humanitarian organizations specifically?
Because major humanitarian data platforms, Red Cross information systems, WFP logistics, UN OSHA coordination tools, run on cloud infrastructure. And increasingly, those organizations are deploying AI agents inside those systems for data processing, beneficiary management, and logistics. The failure mode illustrated is what AI safety researchers call drastic irreversible action. An agent with elevated permissions chooses the most aggressive solution to a minor problem. In humanitarian terms, that could mean an agent wiping beneficiary database records, overriding convoy routing, or deleting distribution logs.
What's the immediate action for organizations?
3 things. First, audit what permissions your AI agents currently hold in your humanitarian IT stack. If an agent can delete records or modify critical data, require human-in-the-loop confirmation for irreversible actions. Second, review any automated workflows touching beneficiary data. Third, ensure rollback capabilities exist for every agentic operation on mission-critical systems. As AI agents become standard tools in humanitarian operations, governance of those agents becomes mission-critical infrastructure.
Finally, a policy story with direct compliance timelines for organizations working with children.
UNICEF launched its updated policy framework, Guidance on AI for Children 3.0, at the India Summit. The backdrop is alarming. UNICEF's own investigation across 11 countries found that 1.2 million children reported having their images manipulated by AI tools to produce sexualized content. Researchers estimate actual incidence is 3 to 5 times the reported figure. No country currently has legislation that explicitly classifies AI-generated child sexual abuse material as a crime.
What does Guidance 3.0 require?
4 requirements. Governments must mandate child rights impact assessments for all national AI strategies. Any AI system collecting or processing children's data must meet explicit algorithmic protection standards. Tech platforms must implement detection safeguards for synthetic child imagery. And data minimization. Children cannot be used as training data sources with explicit consent frameworks.
The compliance clock.
This guidance will be incorporated into UN system procurement standards. Organizations running child protection, education, health, or refugee services that handle children's data or images should begin child rights impact assessments now. A 12-month compliance window is optimistic. UNICEF also expanded its AI literacy program to Ukraine and Laos, building the next generation of practitioners who will implement these safeguards.
Before we close, events calendar. What's on the radar?
2 this week. Interspeech 2026 paper deadline is Wednesday, February 25th, important for researchers working on Indigenous voice AI and low-resource languages. And the Humanitarian Networks and Partnerships Week opens virtually on March 2nd, with in-person sessions in Geneva, March 10th through 12th. UNO OCHA's flagship annual gathering, covering AI, data management, and anticipatory action. Open registration.
And for the longer runway?
Mobile World Congress opens March 2nd in Barcelona. The Summit of AI in Latin America is March 9th through 12th in Quito, the most important event of the year for practitioners focused on that region. And NVIDIA GTC is March 16th through 19th in San Jose. If you're building on AI tools for satellite imagery or climate data, the Deep Learning Institute sessions are directly applicable.
To close, what's the through line on a day like today?
Institutionalization. The New Delhi Declaration, UNICEF Guidance 3.0, the Cloud Governance Lesson, the WFP Portfolio, these aren't individual stories. They're evidence that AI for humanitarian impact is moving out of the pilot phase and into the era of governance, compliance, and accountability. The practitioners who will lead in this space are the ones ready for what comes next, not just the tools, but the rules.
That's Impact Signals for Monday, February 23rd, 2026. If this briefing is useful, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out at impactsignals.ai and share it with someone working in the field.
Stay ready.